Well, hi everybody. Bill here. Thanks for taking time to watch another one of my videos and what I do out here in Eastern Iowa. I sure appreciate it. Hey, in the previous video, we identified a retaining wall that was bulging out and needed to be redone. That was also the right time to pick up some downspout water that was dumping close to my house and take it further away. In the last video, we also showed you how convenient forks are when they're used to haul away several thousand pounds of retaining wall, and we're going to bring them back later in the video. We also used the Backhoe and the Backhoe paddle that we built quite a while ago to push that loose landscaping rock back so it could be reused. Then we used the 220 loader and the tractor to haul away some of that soil behind the retaining wall, and we continued to take the wall down piece by piece. Then we started to excavate behind the wall, and I thought, well, could I avoid removing the two lower rows and leave them? But I quickly realized they should be removed too. Now I stopped it here because several of you have asked me why didn't I dig on the top and make it a little easier, but see the arrows pointing to a fire pit, and then there's a retaining wall over to the right, and I couldn't get on that top side, so this is what I was left with. All right, and here's what we had after that wall was taken down. There were 4 or 5 blocks still remaining that had to be removed, so we got the thumb attachment out and picked up those remaining blocks. After that, then we leveled up the base with 1-inch stone and compacted it, and then we started to reinstall the wall and then put an appropriate tilt on that wall, tilting slightly backwards, little tilt to the back. Then we installed the erosion mat and the drain tile with a sock at the lowest point of the wall, and the point of that is to remove any subsurface water that may get behind the wall, and then the sock over the drain tile blocks out any dirt, sand, or other debris I may have missed, so that drain tile doesn't clog. And of course the tile had a minimum 1-inch slope towards the French drain that we're going to install here shortly. Well, then we started to backfill again, and we got rained out for several days, hoping to prevent the existing soil to not slide down over our new work. I covered the entire area up and kept it dry, and that brings us up to today. Unfortunately, the unexcavated soil remained in place, and so we can start installing the downspout stormwater pipe today. There's a quick glimpse at the heating cable I'm going to install. Check out video 129 if you want to see how I did that. But my whole point was to get heating cable at least several feet into that stormwater pipe. Here's a quick picture of it glued in and glued together. You can see I have a clean out on the left side there in case I need to clean it out. And then it was just simply to start hauling in 1-inch clean. I couldn't get perpendicular to the wall because it's just a little tight in there, so we had to do a little handwork and bring that gravel in. You can see I'm trying to flick the bucket and get some of that stone up in there, but back and forth, and my wife would just shovel it over. Our intention here is to bring it up within 1 inch or so of the existing gravel. Then we'll cover that with erosion mat and act as a filter so that a 1-inch clean stays clean, and then we'll cover it up with landscaping rock. Hey, and while I got a minute, I'd like to do a shout out to William Duffy checking in from Scotland, United Kingdom. Thanks for checking in, Bill. Nice to finally hear from you. Robert checked in from Clemson, South Carolina, and the Mad Mechanic watches us from Mechanicstown, Ohio. Thanks, everybody. I have a few more shout outs later in this video. So here we are. I've got this area backfilled now. You can see I'm putting the erosion mat on top. I wanted to do this section first because it's holding a lot of soil back, virgin soil back, that I don't want to move because it's holding other retaining walls. And what I was pointing out there is the clean out again. And here it is looking at the other side. You can see it's holding another couple of retaining walls. So I didn't want that soil to move. So I can take a breath now. I've still got to keep my eye on that fire ring wall over there so it doesn't slide down. So now we're going to start tightening up the radius of the wall. I'm going to go clockwise tighter. The right arrow is my new path. The left arrow shows the old path. And the reason I want to pick up 1 foot or 2 feet is because of this. I use this TZ50 that I purchased a couple years ago. I can back it in, but the outriggers require a certain amount of distance on each side, and this is as close as I can get. So if I can pick up a couple more feet by making that radius tighter, I'm going to be able to get closer to the house. All right, while we start digging out the retaining blocks of the old path, the old arc, I'd like to say a few more shout-outs here to some people who have taken time to say hello. Jack down in Alexandria, Alabama. Z71 down in San Isabel, Colorado. Mark McCoy, he's a professional excavator from Tucker, Georgia. He checked in and said hello. Mike in Missouri. Bob in Astoria, Oregon. Sorry, Bob. He wanted to know what happened to the snapping turtles in the pond video. And MSS, he checked in and said, hey, I'm knocking the heck out of staying active out of retirement, right out of the park. Well, thanks a lot. I'm trying. And let's see, we've got a couple more here. Ronald, DuPont, Louisiana. Andrew out in Silverton, Oregon. He checks in every now and then. And I've got everybody on my map. I'll have the new map updated next video. Oh, and I don't want to forget Gene. Gene's in Illinois and told me not to mispronounce the city's name. It's not Orion like the constellation. It's Orion. O-R-I-O-N, Illinois. Orion. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Gene. Thanks a lot. And thanks to everybody that checks in. I recognize everybody's comments, and I'll identify you and recognize where you're watching from. Sure appreciate it, everybody. Thanks so much. Well, let's get back to the project now. You can see I've pulled quite a few more blocks out of there than I thought. And doggone it, let's stop the video here a minute. Doggone it, look at the two arrows there. You see that upper drain pipe and then the new one we put in? I really intended to bring those two together in a Y connection and take them down to my French drain, but I missed it. Oh well, best plans, you know, sometimes just don't work out, but I'll work on that next spring, but it's not going to be put in place here. What I'm trying to do now is dig that French drain I was talking about before. My home sits on great big layers of limestone, so I don't know how deep we're going to get here, but we'll see. You can see the drain tile there and the erosion mat up against the hillside there. What I'm going to do is bend that around and bring that down into this new French drain that I'm going to dig. Tomorrow I'm going out to a company called Mudd's Customs and take a look. They have a ripper tooth and a quick attach bucket connection. So watch for that in upcoming videos. A ripper tooth would have been real nice to have right here, wouldn't it? I think the bucket's doing a terrific job, but if you could just picture that ripper tooth getting in there and breaking up some of this limestone, I might have had a little better luck. All right, let's jump ahead here a little bit and save you a few minutes. A couple things I want to note is I'm being real careful when I'm putting that bucket up near that new wall. I don't want to undermine that. That would really ruin the whole day, wouldn't it? If a guy undermined that and then had to go back and restack it. I've seen that done, trying to avoid it here. Let's see, another thing I'm trying to do is curl that bucket. Notice when I do get down there and underneath a tooth, underneath some limestone, then I'll curl the bucket. The owner's manual talks about you're going to get more torque out of that bucket curling than using the boom or the dipper stick. So there, just curl, 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 then lift it up. I've had good luck with that, and just wanted to pass that along to everybody. So curl that bucket and you'll get a lot of strength, a lot of digging strength. All right, I'm putting the tooth down here on a piece of limestone, and I can see it move. Look at my wife's arms moving. She's saying, stop, don't pull that out. But I'm kind of confident that it's just a chunk in there. So I'm trying to get that tooth back behind it and give it a pull. There it is. There we go. So it wasn't as big a slab as we thought, thank goodness, or I wouldn't have been able to live that down. But I'm getting down to the point now, about as far as I can, because I'm going to get into bigger and bigger chunks of limestone here. All right, so what's next is to bend that drain tile around there. I had to go and get a 90 to make it work. I put 1 inch clean down on the bottom, then I bent that pipe around there with a 90 and wrestled it in there like that. And then we're going to cover that up with 1 inch clean. Since this is a family show, I won't put any video or audio on here of me wrestling this thing around and trying to get it to fit in there, because I have to get it to go underneath the new wall, and I'm conscious of the new arc that's going to be there, right there. So I'm thinking, how do I get this done? Well, I did finally get it done. I forgot to turn the camera back on, but you can see the landscape fabric over there, over the clean 1 inch. That's where the drain tile goes into that pit that I dug, and that's going to remain in place right there. So I went and got the grinder and a masonry blade, diamond blade, And all you have to do is cut these like this and then whack it with a hammer and it'll come right off. As I put in the last few walls or blocks there, the angle's changing, so each block has to be cut a little bit and then changed. So take your time and you'll be fine. You might burn through a couple blocks, but big deal. You're doing it yourself and you're saving plenty. So here we're getting to the end now. The wall's in place. We're going to get our final backfill in place. You can see the pipe comes down, takes a 90 and dumps out near that French drain that I put in. And notice the landscape fabric is up. And then when I start getting that filled, I rolled that over. And here's the landscape fabric on the top. And then I'll put the landscape, that decorative rock, on top of this fabric. And that should filter through quite nicely. Since we changed the radius of the wall, we had to also cut the caps. So it was easy to run a concrete saw, make those cuts, and that turned out real nice. I did leave this in if you're considering a tractor like this. I really like the John Deere quick attach design. You see how easy it was to drop off the bucket and then come over and get underneath the forks, bring those up, and you just connect 2 pins and you're off and running. So when you're using multiple attachments, man, that's just a terrific design, just terrific. And Chris wanted me to kind of track the expenses and compare them to the savings. As I said in the previous video, I had an estimate of about $4,000 to do this. The specifications weren't clear, so he said he would repair the wall and redo it, but who knows what that means. We hadn't got that far yet. But let's use the $4,000 as a bid. Looking at my numbers, I've got $300 in rock and drain tile, landscape factory, $100 in sewer pipe, and let's see, we've got $100 in this for the flowable caulk. So we've got $500 in this. So conservatively, having the tractor saved me $3,500. I would not have taken on this project without that machine. Just no way. Well, here's the final product. You can see I put an elbow on that downspout and turned it and dropped it into the French drain. I did not glue that, so I can take that off when I move that lift back in there and try to pick up some more inches. And inches lead to feet, right? I circled the area. I honestly think we picked up 10 inches to a foot in there. We'll see next spring. Another thing I wanted to show you was this used to be a lot different looking in here. You can see how the wall is stepping back and leaning back, so that's good. That's by design. Here's next year's wall. Boy, this is going to be some work, but I'll be able to at least dig from up on the top. But notice this wall does not slant back, so we've got our work cut out for us. In addition, it's lower with the first arrow than the second arrow. That's higher, so the water's running towards the wall, and I want it to come out by the third arrow. Oh man, I'm going to get some rest this winter. We'll bite that off next spring, everybody. Hey, thanks so much for spending time with me. So long, everybody. Have a great month.